Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, so Tesla stock.
Yeah, it's been making some serious moves lately.
Right, and I know a lot of you listening are probably wondering, does this rally have legs?
It's the big question.
So for this deep dive, we're going to try and unpack what's driving this upward swing and hopefully get a clearer picture based on our sources from around mid-May 2025 of where things might be heading.
Sounds good, because the gains have been, well, pretty impressive recently.
They really have.
Absolutely. I mean, the momentum is really what's caught the eye. As of, May 16th, we saw the price get close to $350 a share.
Wow, $350, that's a big jump.
It is, especially when you think about some of the dips earlier in the year. If you zoom in, it's up over 16% in just the last week alone.
16% in a week.
Yeah, and that's building on, like, a solid 4-week winning streak.
Yeah.
So the question stands, can it keep going?
Okay, so let's maybe dive into one of the big factors here. The talk about a new pay package for Elon Musk.
Right, the executive compensation.
The old one got thrown out, right? That huge one.
Yeah, the Delaware court invalidated that massive 2018 stock option award, so now the board's, hashing out a new plan.
And how's that playing out with investors? Does it, make them more optimistic?
Well, it really boils down to signaling, I think. For a company that's so tied to its leader, the idea of a new package probably reassures investors. It suggests Musk is committed long-term, that his interests align with the company's future.
Okay, so it suggests stability, future direction?
The market tends to like that, yeah.
Right. And speaking of the future, there's a lot of buzz around the cybercab.
Oh, yeah. The robotaxi.
Tesla's fully autonomous electric vehicle, they're saying. End of June launch.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
And investors see this as a huge potential growth catalyst.
Why is it such a potential game changer for the stock specifically?
Well, think about it. The autonomous vehicle market is expected to be massive.
Huge potential, yeah.
So the cybercab is Tesla basically planting its flag, say, we're going to lead this. If it works, the market sees potential for major revenue growth, market share. It's a bet on them dominating this next big thing in tech.
Makes sense. A bet on the future. Now, it's not just Tesla's internal stuff, is it? There are broader things happening, too.
Definitely.
Like the reports about the U.S. and China agreeing to keep tariffs where they are, at least for a bit.
Right. The 10% level for 90 days was the report. And, yeah, any sign of stability on the trade front, that's generally good news for global companies.
Especially tech.
Especially tech, yeah. They often have complex global supply chains, global customers.
Yeah.
So avoiding tariff hikes just reduces uncertainty, reduces potential costs. It boosts confidence.
Okay. And then there was that kind of interesting tidbit about Elon Musk traveling with President Trump to the Middle East.
Yeah, the Starlink approval in Saudi Arabia came out of that trip, apparently.
Now, Starlink isn't Tesla, obviously.
Yeah.
But does Musk's overall, influence, do these kinds of wins have a sort of halo effect?
It's plausible, It's not a direct financial link to Tesla. But these things can definitely boost the perception of Musk as someone who gets big things done, an innovator. And that narrative, that success story, can sort of indirectly rub off on Tesla in the eyes of some investors. It adds to the overall sentiment.
Okay. Let's switch gears a bit to the technical side. The stock price broke through its 200-day moving average back on May 9th. Why is that a big deal for people watching the charts?
Okay, so think of the 200-day moving average as like a smoothed-out long-term trend line.
Right.
It averages the price over the last 200 trading days. When the current price pushes up through that average, technical analysts often see that as a sign, a signal that the momentum might be shifting upwards, from bearish to potentially bullish for the longer term.
Got it. And the numbers since the Q1 earnings report, wow, nearly a 40% jump.
It's pretty staggering, yeah.
Yeah.
And leading up to May 14th, there were 6 straight days of gains.
6 days straight.
With a surge of over 26% just in that short window. It hit its highest point since back in February.
So what does that kind of rapid climb tell us? Just strong buying?
It tells us there's really strong buying pressure, yeah. And a big shift in market sentiment. Investors were clearly reacting well to all these catalysts we're talking about, and sometimes momentum just feeds on itself.
Attracts more buyers.
Exactly.
Okay. We also heard Chipotle's CEO joined Tesla's board. That seemed a little different, bringing in someone from outside auto or tech.
It did raise some eyebrows, but it could be seen positively. Maybe bringing in diverse experience, especially around scaling operations, supply chains, customer experience.
Things Chipotle does well.
Exactly. Areas where a successful consumer CEO might offer, valuable insights as Tesla grows.
Okay. And one last point on the positive side, that Korean ETF, the one focused on Tesla's value chain.
Oh, yes, the ACE, Tesla Value Chain Active.
It saw the biggest gains among domestic Korean ETFs recently, apparently.
Yeah, excluding leveraged products, it was up like 14.60% in a week. Which is noteworthy because it shows this positive feeling isn't just U.S.-based.
Right. International investors are feeling confident, too.
Seems that way. Confidence in Tesla and maybe the whole ecosystem around it.
Okay, so we've laid out a pretty strong case for the recent rally. Lots of positive factors. But, we need the balanced view. What about the other side? What are the risks, the potential headwinds that could push the stock back down?
Absolutely crucial. Because despite the stock's run, we can't forget the Q1 2025 earnings report.
Which wasn't great, right?
No. It showed a year-over-year drop in both sales volume and net profit. And that's fundamental. Declining sales, declining profits.
Yeah.
If that continues, it could really start to weigh on the stock.
Because eventually the stock price needs the financials to back it up.
Precisely.
Yeah.
You need strong results to support a strong valuation long term.
Okay, that makes sense. Anything else on the risk side we should keep in mind?
Well, there are also some, let's say, emerging political headwinds. We're seeing opposition movements like Tesla takedown pop up related to Elon Musk's political activities.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the direct impact is really hard to measure, but if these things start to negatively affect Tesla's brand image.
It could potentially hit sales down the line.
Potentially, yeah. It's a risk factor to watch.
Oh.
Brand perception matters.
Okay, important points. So with all this in mind, when we look at what analysts are saying about the future, say, end of 2025, it sounds like there is some pretty big disagreement.
Oh, definitely. You've got quite a spread in opinions right now.
So what's the optimistic view? Where did the bulls see this going?
Some of the more bullish analysts are talking about Tesla stock reaching $500 by the end of 2025.
$500, that's quite an increase from $350, about 43% upside.
It is, and that view likely hinges heavily on the Cybercab launch being a big success, scaling quickly, and probably assumes market sentiment stays positive and maybe profitability turns around.
Okay, and then on the other side of the coin, what are the more cautious analysts worried about? Why are some lowering targets?
They're focusing mainly on those risks we just talked about. The potential for sales to keep declining, maybe the impact of those political headwinds on the brand.
They're weighing those more heavily.
Right. They might also just be waiting for more proof points, like seeing how the Cybercab actually performs in the real world before getting more optimistic. Or they might just feel the recent run-up got ahead of the fundamentals.
Which brings us right back to that Cybercab launch in Austin. It really feels like a make-or-break moment almost.
It feels pretty pivotal, yeah. It's a high-stakes event for sure.
Could validate the bulls or
Yes.
give the bears more ammunition.
Exactly. A smooth rollout, showing the tech works, showing people want it, that could be a massive catalyst.
Yeah.
But any significant problems, technical glitches, regulatory hurdles, bad public reaction, that could really put a damper on things. It could force a rethink of those future growth expectations.
So the overall picture, looking ahead, it seems like a real tug of war. Exciting potential versus some pretty real challenges.
That sums it up pretty well. It's definitely not a simple, straightforward story.
No.
And while this recent trend is up, which is encouraging if you're an investor, it's worth remembering the stock is still, about 13% lower than where it started the year?
Good point. Still down year to date despite the rally.
Right. So key things to watch. Definitely the Cybercab progress, the autonomous driving service rollout, public reception. And can Tesla turn those sales and profit numbers around? That's huge.
And the compensation package details once we get them.
Yes. That will tell us more about leadership incentives and alignment with shareholders.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. Tesla's stock has been on a tear recently, fueled by things like hope around a new Musk pay deal, big excitement for the Cybercab robo-taxi, and maybe some helpful market conditions.
But you have to balance that against challenges like falling sales in Q1 and those potential political risks we mentioned.
Yeah.
Which explains why analysts are kind of all over the map on where it goes next.
Absolutely.
So maybe a final thought for you listening. Given all these competing factors, the analyst disagreements, and this really crucial Cybercab launch coming up, what indicators will you be watching most closely over the next few months? How do you see the interplay between the tech innovation, the leadership questions, and just the broader market mood shaping Tesla's future?